This is Roman Abramovich, Russia's most famous oligarch. He's the owner of the Chelsea Football Club, owns a fleet of super yachts, and he's one of the newest additions to the international sanctions list.
Roman Abramovich has been hit with financial sanctions by the European Union.
That Roman Abramovich has now been added to the UK sanctions list.
But that's not really the most interesting thing about him. You see, Roman is a self-made man who worked himself up to be one of Russia's richest and most respected men. Back when Russian President Boris Yeltsin decided to step down, Roman Abramovich was actually one of the first people to recommend Vladimir Putin take his place. Since 1999, when Roman helped form his first cabinet as prime minister, Putin and Abramovich have been almost inseparable. Roman became one of Putin's closest friends, and it went so far that their relationship was described as one between a father and a son. Roman was there for Putin through all the ups and downs. When Putin needed to choose his replacement in 2007, Roman helped him decide on a man named Medvedev. For a lack of a better description, Roman was Putin's ride or die, until Putin tried to kill him. Just this year, Abramovich was in Kiev to join peace talks between Russia and Ukraine. Soon after the meetings, Roman and two other people who attended started feeling sick. Roman couldn't see, his eyes turned red and watery, his skin started peeling from his face and hands, he was in excruciating pain, and he had to be evacuated to Turkey for treatments. The cause? Probably a poisoning by Russian operatives. And for a man like Abramovich, the only person who could have given this order was Vladimir Putin. But how did it get to this? How did Roman go from being Putin's closest ally to being on Putin's hit list? How could a father poison his own son? To understand this, we need to dive a little deeper into his story. This is Roman Abramovich, the most notorious Russian oligarch. To stay afloat, the Russian government in the 90s ended up taking loans from Russian oligarchs and ended up getting screwed. And it's the same story for people too. Being buried in credit card debt is a great way to stay poor because most people are only able to pay off the interest every month, leaving them in debt forever. And currently, credit card debt in the US hit an all-time high this month. So if you're in credit card debts, don't you wish you could get a loan at a way lower rate and use that cheaper loan to pay off your high interest debts so you only have one single monthly payment with a clear payoff date, letting you escape from this vicious cycle once and for all? Well, that's where Upstart comes in. Upstart is a quick and easy way to get a personal loan online that helps you pay off your high interest debts. Over 1.8 million people have already used Upstart to pay off their credit card debt, consolidate high interest debts, or even fund their personal expenses. Upstart gives you a loan that only requires one fixed monthly payment with a clear payoff date, so you always know exactly how much you're paying and for how long. What's great about Upstart is that it considers factors other than just your credit score. They look at your income, employment, and other information to get you a smarter rate for your loan. Your loan offer could be anything from $1,000 to $50,000, and you can check your rate in minutes without impacting your credit score. Once you accept a loan offer, you could get access to your funds in as little as one business day. Don't wait and check your rate today at upstart.com/Jake. That's upstart.com/Jake to check your rate today. Don't forget to use my URL to let them know I sent you. Loan amounts will be determined based on your credit, income, and certain other information provided in your loan application. Go to upstart.com/Jake. Thanks to Upstart for sponsoring this video. Roman Abramovich wasn't supposed to become a billionaire, but at the time he was 3, both his parents had died. His mom was a music teacher and his dad a low-level civil servant. So Roman was shipped off to live with his family in the cold gray remote north of Russia. He had no money, no parents, and he was never great at school. His future didn't look promising, but Roman did have one thing going for him: his entrepreneurial spirits. Every couple years, someone comes around who just seems to have something no one else does. No matter how bad their circumstances, they just don't give up and find thousands of ways to force their way to success. Roman was one of them. When he was 16, he dropped out of school and started selling used car tires and car parts. Back in Soviet Russia, private businesses were outlawed, but Roman didn't care. He was making money in the black markets, and even though it wasn't much, it was his beginning. A few years later, Roman was conscripted into the Red Army. Anyone else would have accepted their fates and given up on their dreams, but not Roman. He decided to put his business sense to good use, started selling stolen gasoline to the units of the army he worked with. By the time he got out, he had saved enough money to start another black market business, selling perfume, which was also illegal in the USSR. Perfume eventually led Roman to selling rubber ducks. Rubber ducks led him to manufacturing plastic toys for kids. In America, the idea of starting a rubber duck empire sounds laughable at best. But back in Soviet Russia, where people didn't have access to anything the government thought was a luxury, businesses like these were in high demand. From selling dolls, he moved to investing his hard-earned money into pig farms, literally bringing home the bacon. In Soviet Russia, this was big stuff for a 20-something-year-old. And within just a few years, Roman made the jump from pig farms to oil, and that's where things got really interesting. In 1992, at just 25 years old, Roman Abramovich was arrested. He had used fake documents to get 55 tankers of diesel on a train rerouted to Latvia where he could sell them. Roman had stopped the train himself and made the conductor change the destination. Sure, he was arrested and had to pay most of the money back in the end, but it just goes to show how industrious young Roman was. He knew he wasn't made to spend the rest of his life selling perfumes or kids' toys. And just a little later, he got his shot at billions. This is Boris Berezovsky, a Russian oligarch who eventually got on Putin's bad side, fled to England, and committed suicide. But back in 1995, Boris was still a widely successful Russian businessman who owned a national car dealership and ran a state-owned car manufacturer. Berezovsky was also good friends with Boris Yeltsin, the former president of Russia. No one knows exactly when or how Berezovsky and Roman met, but the two immediately hit it off. Through Boris, Roman Abramovich had found his way to the adults table. This was where billionaires were made, and he was about to be one of them. Around the same year Boris and Roman started working together, President Yeltsin created a new oil company called Sibneft. Since Boris and Roman were so close to the presidents, President Yeltsin appointed them as top executives in Sibneft, never dreaming about what they were about to do. 1995 was a busy year for the Russian economy. Only 4 years after the fall of the Soviet Union, the government was in serious need of cash, and so the Loans for Shares program was born. Here's how it worked. The government would put up a specific amount of shares in state-owned companies as collateral for a loan. Bankers and political insiders would then give the government money in exchange for those shares. If the government couldn't pay back the loan, the lenders would keep the shares for themselves. Obviously, the government never made enough money to buy those shares back. So instead, the lenders kept their stakes in the companies, and some even took over the businesses completely after buying out other shareholders. It was Russia's very first fire sale, and Roman and Berezovsky wasted no time taking advantage of it. Berezovsky had a lot of friends in high places, and now with the opportunity of a lifetime before him and Roman, he put them to good use. In early 1995, a Russian minister suddenly orders $137 million of taxpayer money to be transferred into an account at a specific Russian bank. A little later, that very same bank lends Roman Abramovich the money he and Berezovsky needed to take over the oil company Sibneft. Using the Loans for Shares program, Roman and Berezovsky bid $250 million for control of Sibneft. The company was actually worth billions. But Roman and Berezovsky knew just how to trick the government into taking the deal. They even paid President Yeltsin's bodyguard $10 million on the side to make sure the deal goes through. And it does. Suddenly, a 28-year-old was in control of a multi-billion-dollar oil company. By the time he sold his stake in Sibneft in 2005, just 10 years later, the government had to pay him $13 billion. He had played the Russian government out of billions. And it didn't go unnoticed, because just 4 years after taking over Sibneft, Russian lawyer Yuri Skuratov launched an investigation against Roman and Berezovsky. Unfortunately for the lawyer, he forgot who the two oligarchs were friends with, President Yeltsin. Within days after the investigation is announced, someone leaks a sex tape of the lawyer to the press. He immediately gets fired, and the investigation, it disappears into thin air. By the time Vladimir Putin takes power, Roman Abramovich is a regular in the political inner circle. He's also in the perfect position to create his own direct connection to the new Russian presidents. What do you get when a group of massive aluminum companies, all run by powerful oligarchs, are all vying for control of the industry in the lawless early years of Russia? You get literal war. Russia's aluminum wars were bloody, like people actually getting killed over the aluminum business. In Roman's own words, every 3 days someone was being murdered. Back in the early 2000s, there were about 3 or 4 major aluminum smelters and processors, all trying to find a way to take over the entire industry. And like true gangsters, they all tried to do it by taking out the other side. Every few days, a different oligarch, CEO, or executive would be killed in his home or on his way to work. Everyone was trying to send the other side a message, but none of the companies wanted to give in or admit defeat. Things got so rough for workers in these companies that by early 2000, one giant aluminum smelter, Krasnoyarsk, was in chaos. Workers were striking, sellers wanted out, and it seemed like the company was just about to go under. Just what the other oligarchs wanted. But in comes Roman Abramovich, there to buy the company to add to his billions. For years, the only way rival aluminum companies could consolidate was by killing each other until someone gave up. But what if there was a more peaceful way? What if the biggest aluminum companies merged? Then the wars could stop, and the new conglomerate would have a complete monopoly over the industry. And that's exactly what Roman did. He used Putin's influence to get another famous oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, to come to the table, and together, they created Russian Aluminum, the world's third largest aluminum company. At the time, Roman was just 33 years old. If he had been rich before, he had now officially reached oligarch status, and it was time to enjoy his billions. Roman wasted no time spending his hard-earned billions. He bought the Chelsea Football Club in 2003 just because he liked football. He spent millions developing the club and team to become one of the best in England. And his love for real estate and yachts meant even more spending. He owns a 15-bedroom mansion in London that cost him nearly $120 million. He bought up 3 townhouses in Manhattan's Upper East Side, which he planned on turning into one massive home. He's also the owner of Abramovich's Navy, the nickname given to his fleet of yachts. Yes, a fleet. He has almost never owned less than 3 super yachts around the world. In 2008, his net worth peaked at $23.5 billion, making him the richest man in Russia. For Roman, it seemed like there was no end to his influence with Putin. He had gone from poor orphan to a billionaire that Putin treated like his own son. Nothing could ever go wrong. But then, Russia invades Ukraine. At first, Roman thought that he could avoid the sanctions that hit almost every other oligarch after Russia invaded Ukraine. For almost a month, he watched in surprise as all of his old buddies got their yachts seized and their homes emptied. Week after week, he waited to hear his name on a sanctions list, but they didn't come. Apparently, he wasn't seen as a threat. For an oligarch with billions of dollars in assets in both America and the UK, the news couldn't be any better. So Roman decided to do everything he could to stay on England's good side, even if it meant making a show of attending peace talks with Ukraine. Maybe if the world saw he was trying to help resolve the war, they would be content with letting him keep his stuff. But in Putin's eyes, this was a betrayal that couldn't be forgiven. You see, when Roman flew to Ukraine in early March to attend peace talks, he had not gotten Putin's permission. Perhaps he thought his father-son bond with the president would keep him safe, but apparently not. Putin had no mercy. The day after the peace talks, Abramovich suddenly got deathly ill. He couldn't see, he was in constant pain, but thankfully he survived. If Putin didn't want him dead yet, this was definitely a warning to keep his nose out of state issues. Roman probably assumed that almost dying for his love of peace would be enough to stop the UK from sanctioning him. Obviously he wasn't on the side of war, so he should be able to keep his yachts and houses, right? Wrong! Because less than a week after the poisoning, Roman was slapped with sanctions, just like everyone else. His plan had failed. But here's the thing. Roman either didn't get the warning from Putin, or he's really desperate to get off the sanctions list, because a month after getting poisoned in Kiev, he's back in Kiev again for round 2. Who knows what Putin has in store for Roman this time? I don't know about you guys, but I found this story super fascinating. And if you enjoyed it, my name is Jake and we make documentaries on money, power, and crime multiple times a week for free. So make sure you click that subscribe button below. And if you want more documentaries that are too controversial to be posted publicly, click that join button below. There's a refund policy too. So if you join and you don't like it, you can always email me and I will personally refund you the money. That's gonna wrap it up. Thank you so much for watching. Stay dangerous out there and I will see you guys in the next one.